Hi folks, welcome back to another episode of Bad Gas Productions. So if you're no stranger to the channel, thank you very much for watching. We really appreciate it. Your effort of watching and spending time with us and commenting and subscribing, it feeds our energy to do this for you. And if you're new, tune in. We really appreciate you joining as well and hope you subscribe and like the content. Share it with some other folks. They may enjoy it as well. So in today's video, we're going to be working on painting the bottom of the Phoenix. What does that mean? It means we're starting from bare metal and we're going to cover it all so it doesn't rust ever again. I decided I'd start this video off a little different than normal. Typically we're working in the shop and we start all our videos there, but today I'm in the office, aka my editing suite, and we'll start here because I'm clean and it's cold out. Hey, so before we jump into the video, I just want to say we're not being paid for any promotion of these products. So the products that we're going to cover today and use are because we've used them in the past and we really enjoy how they work and find they work great for us. All right, so I'm a total geek at heart. I'm going to geek out a little bit on what our process is. So we have an order of operations, and the very first thing is to do a ton of cleaning. We're going to be using a spray gun and compressed air to do most of the work we're doing here. And that causes a whole lot of chemicals to be thrown into the air. So we'll be respirators, we'll be using protective clothing, we're putting down drop cloths over all the tools, everything in the shop, car parts, over the windows, just anywhere you don't want sort of paint to go. You have to do that, including the car itself. So that's our first step, is preparing the car, and we'll show you some of that, where we went before painting it. So that's number one. Number two is we will degrease the metal with a POR product. Here, I'll show you that right now. So POR stands for paint over rust. This is the first step of their process. Is their degreaser. We'll use that to wash down the metal. Next thing we're going to use after that dries is a product called it's Metal Prep. So again, from POR. So this is an acid etcher. It stinks. You need to wear gloves, eye protection, and a mask when you're putting this on. And generally you want to keep the metal that you're putting this on wet. I think the directions say for 20 minutes. I'm literally going to spray this on multiple times and let it dry onto the car overnight. You cannot paint the car with this on it until it is dry. Now, I think if you read the directions, it says to spray it down with water after this, but I have literally never done that. So I literally spray this on and I let it dry, and when you go back the day after, so about 24 hours later, depending on the heat and humidity in your space, you'll find that there's a kind of a chalky, milky dust over the vehicle, and to me, that's how I do it. So that's next. After that, we're going to spray one coat of this product, POR15. This is a gloss black. That's what we're using. So I'll spray that with a gun. We'll wait until it tacks, and then the group of us are going to go in with seam sealer, and we'll push seam sealer into all the seams. And then after that tacks, we'll spray the second coat of POR. In a minute, I'll tell you why I do it that way. Last two coats are going to be with a product called Raptor Liner. This is your standard bed liner. This is my favorite one to order. I've used it multiple times. Works really great. Is it as good as, say, Linux put on commercially? It's close, not as good, but for the home guy, this works really, really great. I've literally painted Jeeps with this. I've painted the exterior of things with it. I've painted many, many floors with it, trunks, and definitely the bottom of cars. So this is a great product, and you can order this online. So perfect. So that's sort of the process. So that's a lot of steps, right? And there's a lot of math involved in figuring out the times in between all those things. Now, last, before I jump into the actual video, I'm going to explain why I do it the way I'm doing it. So you could seam seal right on the bare metal and then jump into all these products I talked about and all the steps. But I don't think that's the right way to do it, personally. And again, this is just me. I'm just a guy doing a thing. I'm not an expert, but the reason I spray the first coat, albeit a bit of a pain in the rear end, to go back in between coats and put the seam sealer in is I want the POR, because it is a rust encapsulator. It is meant to go directly on the metal, and it's meant to prevent further oxidization by essentially sealing the metal from the air. So I want this to go into all the crevices. I want it to go between the pieces of metal. I want it inside everything. And then the seam sealer would go on next. I've taken apart enough cars, dug body fill and seam sealer out of things that were totally rusty underneath, and this Firebird was no exception to that. So that's my process. Again, it is a total pain. It may not be how a commercial shop would do it, but it's how we're doing it at Bad Gas, and it's worked for us. Now, last, I'll say there are naysayers for POR15. I am not one of them. I have used this on off-road rigs. I've used it on ATVs. I've used it on cars, and I've never had it fail me. It has never, ever, ever come off. I live in the, northern part of Canada, where they put tons of salt on the roads, and I've had this stuff look great year after year after year. I've had parts that I've left outside behind my shop through the snow laying on it and winters, and they still look exactly the same. So it works well for me. You do absolutely have to prepare it properly, and it is not meant for shiny metal. So what do I mean by that? It works great on a frame. If you had that frame sandblasted, or the bottom of the car you had it sandblasted, or you take the time to really, really, really scrape it down really, really well, and you rough sand it with something, the metal has to absolutely have something to bite, for the paint to bite into, or it will peel off. I did have that happen once. It was totally my fault. I did put it on shiny metal, and it's a bit of like, live and learn, right? But I have vehicles that I've done this with as far back as 9 or 10 years ago, and they still look shiny today. One other thing about this is this has no UV protection whatsoever. So this is a middle stage. It is a rust preventative, and it works great as that. But if you're going to expose this to the sun, you need to paint over it. So that's why I'm using the Raptor Liner. But if I wasn't using Raptor Liner, I would paint over it with whatever color paint you want. You can get this in multiple colors, so if you're going to do a light color, do a light color of this first. But I have painted this on many times and then blown right over it with chassis black, and perfect results, shiny black for multiple years. So anyways, that's it. You'll see me getting progressively dirtier throughout this video. This is a multi-step process. As I mentioned, I will be at this for probably 20 hours between all the coats. So that's a significant time commitment in my life, and hopefully it goes all well. So as you can see, we have everything kind of covered up. The hoist is all covered in plastic, the car's taped off, only exposing the things we're going to be painting. And we get drop cloths everywhere. Looks like a proper construction site. So let me tell you what we're doing. So like I said, this is going to be the first coat of POR. And the reason we have everything taped off is because it goes everywhere in the air. I'm going to suit up, I'm going to put on gloves, tape off my my wrists so things like paint don't seep in under on my skin. I'm gonna cover my face up as best as I can, eye protection, full respirator. This stuff is nasty. I can't say that enough. Make sure you know the chemicals you're working on. But POR in the air, super nasty. You wanna have ventilation. I have the heater shut off here in the shop for a little bit because I don't want the paint to go into that, and I'm gonna have a door open. Full respirator, like I said, and I'll be going to it. So I will film a tiny bit of it, and then I'm gonna shut the camera off, and I'll pop in and out, different phases along the way and let you know how we're making out. So catch you at the next one. Okay guys, let's talk a little bit about POR. And this stuff has a tendency to dry really fast. Now for today, I'm gonna spray quite a bunch of this. So I am gonna open it and use it. I'll probably use that entire can today, but when I have, this is DOM 16 is also the same as POR15. In Canada, we can buy this a little cheaper than the POR product, but as far as I can tell, same product. You can see I've got 2 self-tappers in here, and this is a can that I've just been using slowly. Probably had it open for 3 months, and there's still some left in it. So what I do is I take 2 self-tapping screws, try to zoom in on that, and I put an O-ring, just a regular old O-ring on it, rubber O-ring. And I just basically drill 2 holes, one to pour the paint and one for air. So when I'm going to use it, I take them out. You have to squeeze the can, you can see the dents. Squeeze the can into another container and make use of it, and then reseal it. That works really well. If you take the top off the can, be prepared to use the whole can, because it's very difficult to get it to not harden. In fact, let's do that for this one.
One key point when you go to put the POR on, make sure that you have gloves on, no short sleeves or anything, because if you get any of this POR on your skin, it'll be there for weeks and weeks until you get it off. So if you get any on, wipe it off immediately. This stuff sticks to everything really well.
Don't get it on your Johnson.
WD-40 works good.
No POR in the nude. Okay guys, first coat is done. Let me see if I can try to show you. See, nice and shiny there. It's still wet, I'm not gonna touch. So the whole car is done with that, all underneath. Both wheel wells, very back of the car, and the firewall. So I'm gonna let this dry for about 3-4 hours, come back and check. If it's too tacky, I'll let it wait a little bit longer. Once it tacks up enough, I'm going to come back and do the seam sealer, which will be 2-3 hours of work. Although I do have some of the Bad Gas crew coming to help out. So we'll do that, and then next we'll put on the second coat and then onto the bed liner. Peace. All right guys, another little update. So we're on the step between the first coat of POR and the second. So like I was saying earlier, we're going to do seam sealer now. We're putting seam sealer everywhere we possibly can in a much neater way than the old guys did at the factory. There's basic idea. The idea here is just to go over the welds and tidy them up and find any cracks or crevices under there that you can. Fill it over. We'll let this dry for about an hour, and then we'll come in and put the second coat of POR on it. How's it going under there, Jay?
Good, bud, good. Getting her all nice and smooth and ready for the run.
Nice. How about you do? How you doing?
Oh, I'm having a blast here, bud. Having a blast.
How'd you make out, Diamond?
Well, you know, it's all good, man.
Filling holes, that's what it's all about.
Oh, I ripped my glove.
Oh, Rob ripped his glove, it's all over.
I ripped my glove. No glove, no love.
Princess is done. All right, guys, that's it. We'll see you on the next coat. All right, guys, so I think in the last video I said we were filling in the holes, and I thought, you know, that might not sound really that great. So I thought I'd just do a quick show and tell here. You can see the seam sealer, you know, it's right here, right? And all it really does is just really seal the water out. So like this panel, this is a new floor panel that we welded in. It's welded 2 or 3 tack welds or 4 tack welds through holes here, and then it's kind of like welded around. And basically there's, you know, two pieces of metal, and the seam sealer is just catching that edge and sealing it. We POR'd first so we could let that wick up inside there, but this is sort of sealing it. And we did that everywhere under the car. So by holes, I really meant cracks. Not like we filled in great big holes or anything like that. All right, so on to the next coat, POR, the last coat of POR. Hey folks, okay, we're done with POR. So this has to dry now for about 4 to 5 hours. I'll come back and check. It's got to tack up, and it kind of depends on the humidity. But once that's tacky enough, I'll get spraying Raptor Liner. I expect that to be 2, possibly 3 coats, and there's about 60 minutes in between each coat. So a long night yet. It's about 10:30 now p.m. Here, so I expect it's going to be, what, 2 o'clock by the time, 3 o'clock by the time I'm done here. Actually, later than that, probably 4. Anyways, catch you on the next coat, folks. Okay, guys, so we're finally to the Raptor Liner step. The POR is, I'm using as a base coat, for lack of better words, is tacky now, so we're on to this step. So Raptor Liner basically is your standard bed liner, DIY type thing. I've tried all kinds of different ones over the years, and this one happens to be my favorite. So I've used this multiple times. It's pretty easy to do at home. You do need a compressor. The kit typically comes with the gun. You need a regulator, typically at the gun, so you can reduce the air pressure. I think you typically want it to be at about 40 PSI or so, and you can adjust the pressure for different patterns, but that's generally what you want. You're going to need a respirator. This one's just a 3M version with the changeable cartridges. So you can see it's getting pretty dirty, but these were new cartridges when I started. But don't want to spray this stuff without some sort of respirator. So the Raptor Liner itself is basically without the hardener. You have to add the hardener in. So simple directions for black or white, i.e. not a tintable one. I'm not doing that in this video. You use 8 ounces of 8 fluid ounces of the hardener, which is actually to the fill line there on the bottle, and you pour it in and you shake it for 2 or 3 minutes. Take the cap back off, put the gun back in it, and essentially it'll end up looking like that sort of, and you spray it right out of the bottle. And I find you can get about 2 bottles sprayed before you have to clean that gun. If you don't clean that gun, the gun starts to restrict inside. So as far as cleaning it, acetone will work, or a lacquer thinner, and basically you just put that in a small container. I got in here just like a cup, and you basically just spray through it with the pressure turned up until it cleans itself out. So other than that, there's 60 minutes flash time between coats. So I'm intending to do this car in 2 or 3 coats, depending on how 2 looks. And you can do it as a thicker single coat, but I generally like to do it as one coat that covers about 70%, and then the rest I'm using to do texture. So anyways, let me get to it. All kinds of fun. Okay guys, so this is a quick walkover of coat 1 of Raptor Liner being done. I got the firewall done, and let's see, under the cars all done, right to the very, very back. Both wheel wells are done, trunk area. And they're down here in the very, very back. I have no idea what you call this. Tail pan, I'm not sure. But that's all done as well. So, It's done for now. I gotta wait about an hour, hour and a half, and then we'll put on coat 2 for the evening. Hey guys, sort of a, I guess, final update. So we're done. All the spraying is done for the bottom, the firewall, and the back. At least I'm gonna be spraying some other things on the car. But for this little project, done. Yes, sir. So let me flip around and I'll show you a quick walkthrough. I have it on tape here in about 20 minutes. I'll remove all the tape and plastic and whatnot, and then we'll let her dry for a few days. So for my final coat, I turn the pressure down to about 30 PSI. And I stand back quite a ways and I just kind of dust it on, and that gives it a textured finish. That's what I wanted. Again, the finish, I guess, is a personal preference. You can either make it smooth or you can make it bumpy, and I wanted it bumpy. So that's what we got. Bottom's the same as the top. Here, I'm gonna show you a wheel well. Let's go look at the wheel well. Some of the tape's falling off there, but basically there's the wheel well as well. And again, the whole car's like that. So other than getting some sleep and cleaning up the shop, next is to let this thing dry. I think, I can't remember, I'm tired. I think it says 5 to 7 days before you really put any thing on the car or to bolt it to it. So that's basically what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let it sit. We're gonna move on to other projects. I still have to paint the floor inside. That's gonna get a couple coats of just POR, no Linux on the floor, because we're gonna put sound deadener on it. And the trunk, we're gonna do the same as the firewall to the trunk. So it'll get a couple coats of POR and at least 2 coats of Linux in there to sort of finish that part up as well. Anyways, folks, listen, thanks for tuning in and watching and sticking with us. We super appreciate it. Your likes, your comments are what drive us to continue doing this. Again, thank you. If you're new to the show or to the channel, please subscribe by all means and share the content as somebody else out there may really enjoy it. Again, thanks. Have a wonderful day.